Greg had always been fascinated by trains. There was something mesmerizing about their rhythm, their predictability. After a late night at the office, he decided to take the last train home. The platform was eerily quiet, the air heavy with silence. The train arrived, its brakes screeching unnaturally loud in the emptiness. Greg boarded, noticing he was the only passenger in his car. The lights flickered briefly as the train pulled out of the station, heading into the dark cityscape. Greg settled into a seat by the window, watching the faint glow of streetlights pass by. The train seemed to be moving faster than usual, the scenery outside blurring into darkness. He looked around the car. It was old, far older than any train he'd ever been on. The seats were tattered, and the floor was covered in grime. When he glanced at his phone, there was no signal. Even stranger, the time seemed frozen. 12:01 a.m. The intercom crackled to life. A distorted voice announced, "Next stop, Terminus." Greg frowned. He had never heard of a station called Terminus. Pulling up the map in his bag, he tried to locate it, but it wasn't listed. A chill crept over him as the train passed through a tunnel. The lights flickered, and for a brief moment, Greg saw something, or someone, sitting in the seat across from him. It was a figure dressed in black, its face obscured by shadows. When the train emerged from the tunnel, the figure was gone. Greg laughed nervously, convincing himself it was just his imagination. Then, the intercom crackled again. "We're glad you joined us, Greg." His breath caught in his throat. How did they know his name? He stood up, scanning the car. "Hello? Who's there?" His voice echoed. The lights flickered once more, this time longer, plunging the car into near darkness. When they returned, the car was no longer empty. The intercom crackled again. "You shouldn't have boarded, Greg. You weren't invited." Greg screamed, banging on the doors, but they wouldn't budge. Suddenly, the train screeched to a halt. The doors slid open with a hiss, revealing a barren, mist-covered wasteland. A figure stood outside, cloaked in shadows. It stepped closer, revealing a face that mirrored Greg's own. The figure smiled, its voice echoing in his head. "You've reached your final stop. Welcome home." Before Greg could react, the passengers surged toward him, their skeletal hands grabbing and pulling him out of the train. He screamed as the doors closed behind him, the train vanishing into the mist. The next morning, authorities found an empty train stalled on the tracks. No conductor, no passengers, only Greg's phone, displaying a single message on the screen. One-way ticket confirmed. Terminus.